What's going on, everybody? It's Coach Rob from the Platform Orlando with another special guest. I have head football coach, weightlifting coach from Green Hope High School in North Carolina, a PowerRaid offensive guy, man. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Been following him for a long time. Glad we can finally link up. Coach Mitch Johnson. Coach, how we doing?
I'm good, man. Hey, I just appreciate you having me on. I'm super excited to talk with you. It's always good to be able to talk ball at the end of the school day, and our season's over. It's kind of having that that lull. It's nice to talk ball and to talk about everything that we do. So I appreciate you for having me on.
Yeah, this is my pleasure for sure. And we talked before. It's just it's exciting times for you now. I know the season ended a little bit earlier than what you wanted to, but I mean, you got a lot of exciting things coming your way, and I'm excited for you and your family and all the things you have going on. So let's just let's start from the beginning. What kind of lit the fire that you wanted to pursue being a football coach?
Yeah, so I ended up, I was a military child. My dad was in Delta Force, and so we moved around a lot. And so really wanted to find something to, be a part of. And so I didn't play football until my senior year. Met who was now my mentor, Coach Chris Metzger. Moved from Florida up to Pinecrest High School. We were one of the worst programs in the entire nation. We were one of the biggest, and he turned it around. I mean, now they're a powerhouse. But when I decided I was done playing baseball and football in college, he called me the day I graduated and was just like, "Hey, you've done such a great job coming back. Like, why don't you come do this full time?" And I'm like, I don't know about all that. Teachers don't pay, and that's all you think about as a college student is all that. So I do it, and I fall in love with it. I'm coaching baseball and football, doing that like 18 hours a day. It felt like for 4 years. But I mean, we are a nationally ranked baseball team, really good football team. And then I decided I wanted to try it on my own. I've been running all of our summer stuff for baseball, doing the work, the lists and workouts for football, and running an offense. It was like, all right, I think I'm ready to do this.
Right.
You never know if you're ready, but and then I've fallen in love with the X's and O's and the program building, the character development, and so much so I have the YouTube channel about it, which came from my wife actually, because she's like, well, all you do is talk to me about it. Why don't you go talk to other people about it and stuff like that? And I was finishing up my second license here in North Carolina, and that's how the YouTube channel got started, was because I was kind of working through my way of having a video of myself and talking to a camera, and why not talk football? Why not get comfortable that way? And and now here we are, and too many people listen to me than they probably should, because I'm still trying to figure my way through the coaching world. But the biggest thing is like the connections, and just like having this connection with you, and just being able to talk ball and meet people, and to have those resources, especially on the year we had. And I know we'll talk about that. It's good to have people like that say they believe in you, and all that stuff, because there's times that even though I'm a very faithful man and God's got me, it's nice to have people in your corner saying, "Hey, don't give up. Keep grinding." And so there's not a better fraternity than coaches. And I say that all the time, because we're all out here trying to impact the kids every day. And now if we're able to impact each other and learn from each other and steal from each other and pick each
Right.
other up, I mean, what more could you have? I mean, that is the perfect. I think of when God talks about a fraternity. I think that coaching fraternity and that community and that giving back, we're all living what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's why I love the community, the fraternity of coaches. I'm sure your wife was like, if I hear one more thing about offensive line splits and steps a quarterback takes and what concept, like, please stop talking to me. I'm
Oh
always saying,
yeah.
wait, stop talking to me about it, because I get it. It's your passion, but I don't care about the offensive line
Well, let me
splits right now.
enjoy the game. Stop ruining it for me. Stop breaking down every moment. Let me listen to She actually wanted to listen to the commentators. I was like, I'm better than that, but
Right, right, yeah, yeah. I definitely can. You got to have a great spouse, and obviously we both do, and God definitely does have both of us. And when you can link up and talk football, it just makes it that much sweeter. So the next question was about the Power Raid. How did that come about? When did that become your identity? Was it a slow evolution as you went? You talk about your early coaching. How did that process go?
so I had the fortunate event of having four different coordinators in college, and every one of them came off of kind of like the air raid tree. Why not? I mean, that was the best. And then like when you're sitting in the dorm room and watching Texas Tech when Leach was there,
Yeah.
and then Lincoln Riley once he got to Oklahoma. I mean, dude, like why would you not want to do that? Was running the split back veer when I came back to coach. That's what Coach Metzger in the offense, because we were trying to do something that other people didn't do, a good way to have an advantage.
Right.
And it was great, but then we bastardized it. After going to Carson Newman, we started running power, counter. And I was like, I kind of like this. But then
Yeah.
I got my hands on being able to adapt what we do with some of our passing stuff. And so I was like, okay, this is a lot of fun, and if you have a system, you can find a way to make it work, all that. Well, then I take my first head coaching job out in Las Vegas, and we had a quarterback that couldn't really throw it that well. We could do some screens and some fades and slants, but we ran the ball a lot. And I was like, man, I'm getting away from my identity. This is crazy. But I fell in love with the different things you could just do with the scheme and adjustments and all that. And it allowed me to become a better coach because I learned the box instead of being a receiver.
Right.
As a fanatic of doing the passing, it taught me the whole part of the game. Well, then I was up in Wisconsin, and allowed other people to call the offense. I called the defense my last year there, or the second to last year, and then I called both on my last year there.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, how can I fit what I want to do and what we can do well? And that's kind of how the PowerRaid came about. I started listening podcasts and listening to Coach Mackey and all those guys, and started like, all right, keeping it simple. What 3 or 4 runs can we do? Blah 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 blah. Well, then Garrett Wingett is a guy out here on the East Coast that was at ECU as a GA under Lincoln Riley, and he was like, well, we kind of call this the PowerRaid. We don't just run zone, because that's what most of the guys are running zone.
Right.
When running the air raid, well, they're running count GT till the freaking cow come home.
Right.
The power read, because let's be honest. I mean, Lincoln Riley always had a quarterback that could run, and why would you not run power read? Because it was brand new, kind of inverted veer kind of thing. So I was like, oh, well, I blocked that for many years. So it was one of those things of, okay, this is what I really want to, bite my teeth into. And so as I dove in, since then I've been at 3 schools, and we've broken school records because it's that mentality of, using the air raid mindset. That's what all mine is. It's the air raid mindset, the philosophy. It's not just the plays or whatever. It's how we break it down. And then I kind of, branched off a little bit. So we, our air raid passing concepts, and then a downhill, run game, with counter power and Buck, because I fell in love with Buck of, Kenny Simpson and the gun T. And it's just something that, okay, with the PowerRaid, just like I was reading Josh Christian's article that he put out on Texas for the Texas football about, like, it's a mindset. It's not just an offense, and there's not an offense that hasn't worked. There's an offense that's always going to work. But the part of making your system work is not being scared to improve and to adapt. And so one of the things I did last year, because our guys have been running wing T, or I don't even know what was ran before I got here. But I was like, okay, we don't have the biggest guys, so we got to really run a lot of gap scheme. We can't run inside zone, so we went straight gap scheme. Did a lot of different formations. Really took some of the gun T and some of the mindset of the pod work and how to do things. So it's still the PowerRaid, but it's one of those things of how can you adapt it for your kids and adapt to have success. And that's something that I never thought I'd be studying the gun T, but man, that it really helped me with grouping some things and some formations, and their mindset of when they take something away, the if then, and it really made me hunker down. Okay, can't always just rely on having good athletes. What happens if you don't have the athletes but still want to be successful with an offense? And so I really dove down into, like, okay, let's just think that across the board we're 0 for 11 on matchups, and how does the gun T and how do they, the if then for each concept, what is going to be your answer to that? And so that's something that we did, and here we are now of, I try to keep it to where 3 or 4 run concepts with tags with the quarterbacks or whatever, 3 to 4 quick game, 3 to 4 drop back, and a couple in our screens, and then we formation and motion the crap out of you.
Right. Yeah,
Yes,
I love it, because for me, doing spread and air, I love the air raid, the mindset of how they practice. That's kind of one thing that I took from the air raid was just how they practice, how they make the pass game so simplistic when it comes to, 4 verts and everything like that. And then last year I took over a wing T team. So it's like, how do we merge those two systems? Because for me, like the wing T, it's almost, if you run it right, you're going to get 5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things
Absolutely.
that it's so hard to defend. And we were talking with Kenny Simpson the other day, and it's like, what are the defenses defending? If they're going to have lighter linebackers and lighter defensive line, because now you're spreading them out, things of that nature. you go heavy set on them. Like now you're flipping football back to a more cyclical process to where now it's like, hey, you got to defend the run too. I'll spread you out, but with those same personnel, I'm also going to bring it back, and we're going to run some things that is going to be difficult for you guys to go against.
This was the first time that I'd used shifts, and
Love
shifts
it.
and then motion and combining both of
Yes.
those, and then going on balance a lot, and
Yes.
it was a masterpiece. I mean, it was, once we get into it, I have all the, the numbers of what we did and the explosives and how we did off of that. No, that's the gun T stuff that Kenny just like watching what they were doing, even his early years. I mean, because he went 0-10 to,
Right.
10-0 now nationally, probably close to nationally ranked, and just, everybody watches what they do. I check on every Friday how they do. And so that was something I adapted to our offense. Last year was using more unbalanced, and then this year was how can we sugar huddle unbalance or go unbalance, go shifts and do motion all that at the same time, and just watching the head spin is so much fun. And then, and then you're just running your day one thing that you've been running since you got here. It's fun to be able to dress it up and to have that much fun with being able to apply what you study as a coach all off season, though, to apply it and see it have success. It's a lot of fun, and to see the kids have fun is even better.
Yeah, I mean now, like as the season started to end, it's where the coaches really start to dial in and say, okay, what are some things that I can add to as you review your last year's film? And I do love the starting off in a spread, and then you shift as quick as possible into a wing T formation, get everyone set, and you're snapping the ball. And the defense, obviously, they're trying to adjust, trying to call things out. It makes it very, very difficult for them. But let's talk about the Green Hope turnaround. So you took a program, you flipped the culture. What did you see that others didn't in the program?
That there were kids that were lost and wanted to be a part of something. They wanted to be game changers, and some of them didn't know it.
Right.
But you could tell, they wanted to have. They loved football. They didn't really know football very well, but they loved the game. And there were a group of kids that they wanted to change history, make history, and so it was one of those things of, as soon as I licked my wounds and had my wham me moments, it was, we got back to work. And so we have these things during lunch. It's called Smart Lunch. And so it's about 55 minutes where the entire school takes lunch. And so what we did is we started doing meetings Monday through Friday, minus when we had our department meeting. And one of them would be quarterback academy. We did football 101.
Wow.
We did leadership 101, and then we did culture time. And I went through, 2 or 3 different books and different things of, trying to bring these guys. Not only, he was the big part was, they were coming together, but they didn't realize that being together was going to help change that culture. I had a son, so I finally took paternity leave, beginning of January. So I came back, and then as soon as I came back, we started workouts. And we were the only ones in the school. Nobody has anything going on. We're the ones working. And I was like, guys,
Right.
this is what we're about. We are going to work, because our 4 pillars are family, standard of excellence, positive mindset, and elite work ethic. And then over top of all that is love. If you're in the program, you're going to get loved on. And that sounds weird. If it sounds weird, tell other people, trust me, you'll understand how much you need it in those moments. And so we just worked, so we did, we would do speed school for 30 minutes. We would do, we broke the kids down from all their lifts to make sure they were doing the right form. We did a max outs. They had never done this before. Any of these kids
Right.
had not done it. The program itself, maybe not since 2018. There was a lot of just dysfunction, just all that. So we lived in the weight room, which, the weight room will change that mentality and
It
that
does.
grit and
Yes.
toughness.
Yep.
And so, we did that. So, we had meetings. It was almost like college. We had meetings at lunch. We worked out, ran after school. We did all that. And then once May got here, we had spring ball. So then you throw in, we're doing all the application of, seeing these guys moving. I was like, okay. I was like, we're in a good spot. We're in a very good spot. We had realignment here in North Carolina, new conference. And so when that came out and they talked about playoffs, our mentality for our team was, there's 32 teams in the Big 32 here in North Carolina. 24 teams make the playoffs. And I told them from that moment when I found that out, I put up on the board, I said 23 other teams or 31 other teams are looking to make the 23 spots because we're going to be in the playoffs. And they all looked at me. I was like, I promise you, I will put my entire year's salary that next year when we're talking about this, we have been made the playoffs. A lot of them thought I was crazy. Parents thought I was crazy, all this stuff.
Right.
And here we are. I think the biggest one is they needed somebody that could believe in them, that was willing to not give up on them when things got hard, didn't go our way, And so, we do all that, and then summer, it's just all the time you put in together. If you're intentional about building character, intentional about your culture, I think that you can change anything. And it's not even about what was going on the field. Yeah, they got faster, they got stronger, they matured, they pick up football knowledge, but they were spending time together. They loved each other. They built a brotherhood. They built something that I would say, and I would challenge it, and no offense to anybody around this school, because we have had really good programs, volleyball and soccer, but it's because of the athletes. I bet you nobody has a culture like our football program does. Our guys, they will do what's right. They will stand up for anybody in this school if they know that somebody's being picked on or being treated wrong. We've had those cases. That they really truly are a brotherhood, and I'll put that to test to anybody. And so then we started off 4-0. Then we played the bully of the conference as one. It's a new conference, but they've been winning it. Didn't go our way, but we played a great second half. We learned a lot about ourselves. We beat a rival the next week, and then we played Jordan High School, who's still in it. They're really good, and we scored the most points that they had given up all year. And they just had way better athletes than us, but we were learning each time. And then we had 2 games where we were 7 points away from winning, and one would have been our rival across the street. Haven't beat them since like 2017, and we had a touchdown called off the board with 8 seconds left. So that really sucked.
Right.
And then the next game, our offense scored with 4 minutes left, and our defense just couldn't get off the field, and we lost. But our kids learned a lot from that, and then we beat our other rival by a running clock. And then we made the playoffs for the first time, and a lot of things didn't go our way, and we ended up playing a preseason nationally ranked team that has 10 D1 kids just on defense. And so it didn't go our way, but we can say that, first winning season in like 5 or 6 years, first playoffs in 8 years, best offense, arguably, if you break down all the stats, possibly ever in the school. Had a couple individuals break some records. So you're talking about a 462-point turnaround. It is quite, if you divide that up by 11, we're talking about 40 points a game. Complete turnaround. And it wasn't easy. There was a lot of tough moments, a lot of questioning if I was the guy for the job or if I even knew what I was doing. But I will say, you haven't coached until you've gone 0-10. When you've gone 0-10 or 1-9, and you've been in the trenches, and you really have to, what's your why? And you're looking up and you're like, what's that why? And every morning you're trying to go to work to stay that positivity. That's when I think you know that you've been a coach. And for those that haven't done that, man, you are just living the life. Because I was that naive at one moment. Because I said that was the first time I've not been in the playoffs in my entire career. So it was something new. But it was eye opening, and I would not take. And this is going to sound crazy. I would not do anything different. I'm very proud of where we've come from. And I love that people still want to joke about us being 0-10 because they were the ones sitting at home watching us in the playoffs. So,
yeah, that's awesome. You talked about you hit the people element first. That's such important when it comes to leadership and building anything. If you don't build the person, the football team, you can still maybe win some games, but you're not going to maximize them as young men. You're not going to maximize their potential. So I definitely commend you on that. And I think you've said that people laughed at the idea of the PowerRaid at Green Hope.
Yes, they did.
So so how did that fuel you? Just hearing people like, yeah, you were in the PowerRaid there. Good luck.
So my wife will tell you, I am a little psychotic of when that happens, is when people hate on me, or hate on what we're doing, it burns me up inside. And so I just remember that. And then I'll put in the back of my head, I'll let it go. But that moment that I need that's what triggers it. And a couple of times I've told the guys, like, hey, if you need any help, like that our first game of the year, if you need any help with that energy, if you have jitters or whatever, follow my lead. I was like, I promise you I won't let you down. Follow the energy, follow being locked in. And then one of our big games, I was like burning a hole through their banner, just ready to go, because we had one of our teams tell their parents, hey, it's like another bye week when got Green Hope.
Right.
Well, and hope they enjoy that bye week after the 27 BTA. But I love when people do hate, because as a coaching fraternity, we should never do that, not prey on anybody's downfall. But But it's one of those things of, I would have people troll my YouTube channel and be like, what do you know? Like, you went 0-10. How are you? Why are you making YouTube videos?
Wow.
Why are you doing this? I mean, it was about a month or two, and it was people inside the school. It was pretty tough, man. I'm not even gonna lie. I try not to let it get to me. I never acted out, but there were definitely times in my head I'm just like, what is wrong with this place? Like, or is it really me? Or like, but people thought it was hilarious. They thought it was funny to watch how bad we were. And we have, and I don't even care. I'll say it is, we have a coach that's still in this building that was the offense coordinator the year before I got there. And he was hating on it the entire, when we scored 101 points in our first two games, like, oh, that's not against anybody. And so then that next week we beat their scoring record. And I was like, yeah, 3-0. That's it's more than you did, buddy.
Right.
And so it was one of those things of, I have that competitive edge, and my wife's always like, you got to act bigger. You got to be more mature than I was like, I know. I was like, but I just got to let them know for a second or two that I heard what they said, but here you go. I keep those receipts, and those receipts will be given in a full tenfold. I promise you that. It just there's that competitive nature in me.
I love that. I do, because it's the human side of it, right? Because you're sitting there making videos and you're just like, hey, I'm gonna do the best I can. I'll put content out, and just because, like you said, if you haven't had a losing season, you haven't struggled, then you've never really gone through anything. It's like going to somebody for advice and they've never even done the thing that you're talking about, or they've always had success and they don't know what it's like to really go through the grind. So it's hard to go to those individuals because you build that through the adversity. Without adversity, you can't grow. Like with building a muscle, without the muscle, tearing down, it's not going to build back up. So what you did is you build yourself back up, and it probably pushed you even harder. Those nights that you're saying, man, maybe I should put the video down a little bit, maybe put huddle down. You're like, you know what? No, we got something to prove. When you feed that to your players, not your players take that energy from you, and they're like, you know what? Yeah, you're right, coach. Yeah, we're 2-0. It don't matter who we played, because you guys said we couldn't do it. So I just love that mentality. I really do. And sometimes that you need the haters to fuel you. And
Yes.
I couldn't imagine the videos and seeing that negative. You just internalize it. Like, yeah, like I can't let it beat me down, but I have to process it.
And we're talking about not just like one comment. We're talking about like this
Right.
long, just bashing. Why are you calling a quarterback up the middle down for you? Like you trying to hurt your players? Like, what do you know? Like, I'm talking about like full on comments. Right. And I was just like, okay, and don't worry, because I have people. I found out the IP address. Like, I'm just like, just keep it going, because right. I'm telling you, it's gonna burn. And the best part that I told my wife is, it's also gonna burn them up when we have that success. And so and one of the things I told these kids before our senior night, or before our last game of the regular season, was, because they, a lot of them knew that what I went through, and the hate and all that, and they're like, play for coach, and I'm just like, don't play for me. I was like, y'all play for each other, because y'all are the ones that did this. We have given you a blueprint, but you guys executed. You did the lifts. You did the workouts. You came to meetings. You did the practice at 6 a.m. You guys have won these games. What my joy is when that scoreboard and watching you guys celebrate, for all of those that said something bad about you or laughed about being a football player at Green Hope, that's why I get excited. Don't play for me. You play for each other. I will get my joy when I get to watch y'all celebrate. And it's just one of those things of, that you said, the human element, and nobody likes to be hated on, especially the amount of time that we would put in, and just like, man, at some point the ball's going to start, rolling our way, and it did. So no, you're 110% correct on that.
That's just a great lesson in life too, because things in life. That's why I always say, everybody says, football is a microcosm of life, because you're going to go through ups and downs and struggles, and that helps you when these individuals are older, and say, you know what, if I put in work and I just stay true to who I am and just keep on believing in myself, because no one's going to come and save you. It's got to come from within. So it's one of those things that you develop more than just a football athlete. Now you're developing a man that can struggle a little bit and know they're going to get out of it and help their family through. And those people that are hating on you are the same people that will congratulate you now. Coach, man, hey, good job in the playoffs. And you got to be like, yeah, you're right. Thank you. Because now they're supporting you deep down. They're probably, maybe it's eating them up, maybe not. Maybe they're just upset you're doing something they couldn't do and you're having success. So, man.
Yeah, and you got to do a little smile and laugh too.
Right. So, man, kudos to you and your team. And that comes from leadership. That comes from your leadership as well. So let's get into a little play design a little bit. A little scheme and how you process that. So I know you're a detailed guy. When you're designing a play or installs, what's your process? Do you start with philosophy, coverage beaters, personnel? Like, what can you walk me through that process?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things is this like game planning, or just like when you first install it?
When it first installation, yeah.
So the one thing that, The passing stuff for me is super easy because it comes from the air raid stuff.
Right.
And you know, if you have your cover zero, your man beaters are going to be your mesh and your shallow cross and your verts. And then you got your 2 and your 3 are going to be your stick and your snag. And then obviously like shallow and mesh, they can beat everything. But that's kind of where you start off with when you're thinking about the air raid. And then when you start talking about the run game is, um, you know, if you're gonna against an underfront, we don't run buck a lot. We'll run our power and GH counter type stuff so that you always have something ready for them. And one of the things for us is wanted to be, kind of even. Like, do we have an A gap, B gap, C gap? And then off the perimeter. So you want to try and check those boxes. I'm trying to think. I said Jason McManus, I think, was one of those of played tic tac toe, and so you have your areas down the field, and make sure that you have ways to attack all those different areas, and then being able to, who are your guys, how are you going to get them the ball, all that stuff. And so that's the way I start thinking about it. So like every year, it's crazy what's mind blowing to me about like what plays are more successful in different places. Like when we were at Northwood and we averaged the 44 points a game, mesh and shallow cross weren't really, as big as they are here. And the big ones for us there were verts, stick, and snag. And sail actually wasn't that big there. We're now here, we come here and stick is really successful with our RPO. Snag, not so much. And one that I really hadn't ran much, but I was like, okay, we could use a little bit more of a cover 3 beater. Started running the post curl concept, the hank, but with the post curl instead of just regular hank. And then another one, because it kind of is, we started working a little bit on spacing. And so those really came into the picture because smash is like a great cover 2, but hey, I can run different ways to get to beat cover 2 and smash. It is great, but for me, I like end up liking like spacing and stick and all that. So I started off with like, yeah, definitely the different coverage, the umbrella, and even on my call sheet, I have what our cover beaters are. And I have our what we like out of that, whether it's 2x2, 3x1, but also then it just kind of goes into the, like we said, the philosophy of making sure every area of the field is taken care of. Every gap we have a different type of run, making sure that we have misdirection, and then that's why I do a lot of our quarterback bash and quarterback read stuff to try and have a +1 in the bot if they try to have +1 at even the numbers. And that's kind of where my mindset is when it comes to that. And then it's when we go out to spring ball, I kind of try to throw a huge array of a net of let's go see how things look and how well the kids pick up on it. And then I kind of start funneling it down to see what our bread and butter is, because everybody has a million great ideas right after the off season, going to all the clinics and all that good stuff. But what are your kids able to master? And that's the one thing that the way that we broke down our practice this year, we ran the mesh drill for 10 minutes every day. We ran our, that like finding space, that zone with snag, with stick, with post curl, and look at how well effective it was. And so it's like how much time do you actually get to practice with your receivers and quarterbacks to be able to figure out what passing game's the best. And then lineman wise, dude, we don't have a lot of big guys, and so zone stuff just isn't for us. Duo, that man stuff isn't for us. Like at Northwood, one of our favorite runs was dart. Well, you got to have a tackle base that guy. Well, if you don't have a tackle that can base it, dart and gut and one back power kind of over, right? So for us, everything was GT, GH, buck, and power, and then power read stuff. And so that's the one thing, is knowing what your guys can do and being real about that type of stuff. Just like I love the gun T, their gut and belly play. But like I said, if you don't have a tackle that can base that guy, now you could possibly pass set him. But now what if he pass sets and he still makes that move inside? Now all that's for what? Why not just teach these guys everything for gap scheme? They're down blocking, they're either pulling, down blocking, there's no reach. And now you're talking about you're getting really good at a couple of techniques. So I guess that's knowing what your personnel is, making sure you have different coverage beaters, and then what your guys can execute. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, no, I love that breakdown. That was very thorough. That's basically what I was looking for. So if you took your whole playbook and said you could only keep 3 plays, which 3 are you going to war with, and why would you choose these 3?
Definitely GT counter. And then I would say GT counter. I would say stick because we can do a bunch of million different ways with stick, whether it's an RPO off of GT, we can run quarterback GT. And then I would say a shallow cross. If you let me cheat a little bit of shallow mixing that with a little bit of the verts, because we did really well with having verts and then one shallow runner. So those would be a three. And it's just almost the same thing when you ask, when you see Stan Bedwell posting stuff, is, six or shallow are usually one of them. And then he either keeps stick or snag. And then obviously a GT type of thing. I think those are the three. So GT, stick, and shallow cross. I mean, I'll be honest, man, I love mesh, but I've really fallen in love with shallow cross and the different things you can do. So those would be the three.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, for sure. So how do you script your first drive? Do you do that analytics wise? Is it gut feel? Is it matched up based? Can you just talk about your first drive script as you prepare for the defense?
Yeah. So I make a like 10 to 12, and then I have like a 20. So like there's like some that like the first possession or two I want to come out and like a series or see different formations. So I want to see how they're going to line up in 2x2. I want to see how they're going to line up in 3x1. I want to see how they handle a wing or a sniffer. So I do those things. So like and I'll tell you this, and this isn't being prideful. I even asked my offensive line coach, like, hey, is it just me, or do people play a certain way on film all year, and then all of a sudden against us, he goes, no, you're right. And I was like, why is that? I was like, I want you to think your thing cap. And I was like, why? He's like, well, especially when we have a quarterback that can run. A lot of teams might not have a quarterback that can run. A lot of teams don't throw the ball 30 times a game. Okay, so you're having two different elements. And then you got to think about it is like, we'll run buck and we'll pull, two guys, or and then we'll have an H-back that was our leading receiver. Leading receiver in 8A football was our H-back type of kid. So we got a little bit different matchup. So I want to see as much film as you want to study, okay, is great. But you got to see how people are going to line up. Well, 2x2 is always one of our base. 3x1 is always one of our base. A winger, a sniffer, we'll line up in empty, try to line up in some unbalance. So there's, like 5 or 6 different formation type things that we'll try to do. And then some of the things that I want to see is I want to get the ball. I want to get 1 or 2 quick screen. Oh, and then we'll do an exotic formation, right? 1 or 2 of those. I want to get a quick screen to one of my explosive outside guys. I want to get run GT. I want to do a quarterback run. I want to be able to run stick, because that's been one of our bread and butters. And then I want to take the top off, whether it's with sail or whether it's with 4 verts. But it will be one of those things of studying their film, knowing what coverage that they're comfortable with. Is there a coverage that they try to run that aren't very well? What is their 3x1 check? Oh, and I also I also like to go stack in bunches, and then also motion, whether it's 2x2 to 3x1, 3x1, 2x2, go formation and boundary. So there's like a checklist, and I can share that at some point of like, I have a checklist of different things I'm trying to see, because we can run our bread and butter off of all of that stuff. But then there's certain plays I really want to get to. Like I love running our GT arrow concept. The arrow off the GT, I want to take the top off, depending on what the defense, when I break it down, what are concepts that they've been struggling with no matter what? Why are they struggling with that? What are the coverages that they like to run in certain formations? Are they linebackers following the guards? Are they squeezing, or are they do they scrape exchange? So who's got the C gap? Who's going to take the B gap off the defense end or outside backer? How do they line up into the boundary? So those are things that I'm breaking down to see, and then we'll build our script off of that. And sometimes I'll have plenty of ideas, and I'm almost got like the 20 plays going, and I mean, we scored on every first drive,
Really?
except for 1 this year.
Wow.
Yeah, or sorry, two, except for 2. And so it was one of those things of, we did a pretty good job with it. And then sometimes I'll go all, and then I'll do it like, what do I think is going to be our best 3rd and short, 3rd and long, 3rd and medium, and I'll rank those off of that. And what do they do if they blitz? Like, hey, this is what we got to do. So that's how I kind of build my sheet, is a lot of what they do, but then also what we have been doing well. And I try to put up my hat on of, who are they going to try to take away? What are they going to try to take away? What do they think of what we're trying to do? And so I was kind of breaking it down as like, we don't have a lot of tendencies because I mean, I'm all over the place, but it was pretty effective with the kids that we have. Because I mean, we're playing teams that have D1, and we might have 1 or 2 guys that might get looks by their senior year. we do the most with our guys based off of our scheme and teaching them why we're doing what we're doing. Hope that was good.
No, that's perfect. No, so everything's perfect. It's all great stuff. I encourage people to go to your YouTube as well. We'll provide a link because that's a lot of great information, tons of videos there, tons of information that it's just going to help you out in the season. So, can you talk about one in-game adjustment this season that you can think of? Like, man, this was awesome what we did here. Like, just the defense was either had success in this avenue, and then you went and had an adjustment, and then now your team it changed the outcome of the game.
Yeah, I'll tell you, going empty. Going empty and going quads. A couple of times, teams that know their empty check was they try to stay the same coverage to the heavy side, and they left one-on-one backside. Or it was they try to play man, and we're just not a team that I think that unless you got dudes and you practice man all the time, I don't think that is something that people do well against us. And so we went empty and quads every time we did, we scored all of our drives. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe we should just say empty and quads and just find different ways to get different personnels in there. But I will tell you that teams struggle at the high school level going empty and going quads. And I know that for a fact. That woke us up in about 3 games because it allows your guys to play in space. It's quick, and you're putting a linebacker that some people try to hide their linebackers. You're putting a linebacker on our guys that you can't really hide. We have a quarterback. The quarterback that will be our quarterback next year, he can tote the rock, runs about a 4.5 something. And if people are thinking that we're going to give the guy that we give our jet to all the time, now he's gone, or you read somebody and now you're a +2 in the box because you're reading somebody. So I would say that's a huge adjustment, is going empty and going quads, and also unbalanced. So don't just try up and line up and the dinosaur formations. Go exotic with unbalanced, empty, and quads, and even mix those two up.
Yeah, so that's great information there. And your team before you got there maybe had a lot of penalties, inconsistency, and doubt. So how'd you get that discipline to what would you attribute to flipping that switch to being maybe an undisciplined team to a disciplined team that's having success?
So I know that this year, one of the big things that we, joked about was we averaged, 10 points a game taken off the board last year. And we only averaged like 6 or 7 a game. But it wasn't like our offense was stagnant. We just constantly had big plays and then we realized they just didn't know the game. Right, so whether it was, hey, you can't hold like that. That's not a block. That's holding, or you can't push off, or you can't go downfield before the pass is thrown, or we're trying to run, or we're running the ball and doing RPO behind it, or like, hey, a screen, you guys got to go behind the line of scrimmage. You can't, so it's just like the little details that just only had 5 coaches last year. So it was one of those things that we were missing some details and just trying to go full throttle starting at the end of May. So it was one of those things of we just didn't have as you said, the people in place and all that. But this year it was having all eyes on when we went offense. It was almost like all eyes are on watching what we're doing. And so it was making sure you're lined up correctly. If not, my dad he's on staff with me, and he would.
Oh, is he?
Nope, somebody wasn't lined up right. O-line coach was big on tempo, like, hey, because we did the huddle because I had either a quarterback or a receiver will come get the play from me. And so we went away from wristbands this year, and it worked amazing. So that was another one, Coach. I'll be honest, that's probably what it was. We went away from wristbands, so I was telling everybody exactly what to do. Whether it was because we call our runs exactly what the runs are, we call our pass concepts exactly what the pass concepts. So if I want to tag it, they know who is tagged and all that. I'll be honest, Coach, that's probably what it was. It was more clarity coming from my mouth to a player or two, and we worked on that for 3 weeks of like the entire offense hearing what I said, but figuring out who the best guys were to relay the message from me straight to the guys, and even be able to help the quarterback with if he needed a little bit of help in the clarity of what we're trying to do. So I'll be honest, that's probably what it was, but it was attention to detail. Every coach was watching the different things. Like for me, I was watching. I knew I was watching with the quarterbacks, their footwork and their eyes, their helmet. Like, hey, what were they looking at? I asked them, what were you looking at? And then receiver coach watching how hard they were coming off routes, how they were at finding the zone. If they were jogging, if they looked like they were uncertain. And then, O-line coach was watching for like the tempo and all that. And then, all that. So it was just attention to detail with all eyes on deck. But I'll tell you, going away from the wristbands and telling them exactly what I wanted and getting that translated to them. Did it slow down the pace at times? Yes, but I would rather have an efficient offense than trying to be cool and go tempo and punting the ball, after 3 plays because somebody didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, exactly. Can you give an example of one of your play calls?
Yes,
Just
sir.
what you would relate to them?
Yeah. So let's just let's go with like a bread and butter type of thing. So we would go pro right ram, GT left, arrow right. And so then that's running GT left, and then we have an arrow right. The guys know, hey, if there's an arrow, the 2 receivers outside. So pro right is Z and Y on the right side. Ram is our sniffer on the right, so he's in the sniffer spot. We're running GT left, and so that all the linemen know that we're running GT. Quarterback knows that he's reading that defensive end, and he can read the perimeter pre-snap if he likes it. The receivers know they're told off of arrow, they're blocking one person inside, most dangerous man, and the H-back, he's doing a counter step and then getting out there. If there's nobody there, he's going as fast as possible. The quarterback can disconnect and get rid of it.
Yeah,
so that's
definitely
one of the examples.
That's a good one. Do you have an example for a pass play?
Yeah, for a pass play, we can go. We would just go spread mesh. That's exactly. I would just say spread mesh. Everybody knows what their rule is. Or if we wanted to get fancy with it, we can go. We would go bunch right, Y sail, and everybody knows what their rules are as 1, 2, and 3. We can do motion where we can go like spread ride, spread H ride. So that's telling the H he's going to the right. So spread H ride, Y sail. And he knows exactly what he has going in motion, all that stuff. So like I said, our pass and runs are exactly what they are. And the guys know what their rules are. And that was the best thing to do instead of trying to do all this, extra lingo and all these, fancy words and all that to sound cool or whatever. We just called it what it was and it worked.
Yeah, it worked for you guys. I mean, you obviously had an outstanding season. Let's transition a little bit. What is something that you wish parents understood about high school football?
That what they see Friday night is the tip, is the little bit of the iceberg that's sticking out of the water. There's a lot of reason for why we do what we do on Friday nights, whether it's personnel, whether it's from film study, whether it's from matchups, and that no, we are not trying to screw over your son because we don't wake up every morning saying, you know what, I want to make sure that we piss off that family or that kid, and that we really want to make their life suck. Promise you that's not what we're doing. That Friday nights is just a minuscule of the amount of work that has been put in since, off-season workouts, all the film time put in. And are we perfect? Absolutely not. But just also remember that, we have a family as well, and that this is our passion. And if it's not your passion or your love, then I'm sorry, but then you probably need to get out of the business because you don't get a lot of satisfaction or a lot of love being a head coach. You have to wear all the negativity, and when things are positive, you better bet your butt that you better tell everybody it's because of everybody else. You don't get a lot of glory with that. And so that's one of those things of, on Friday nights, what you're seeing is just a minuscule of the amount. It's like a snapshot of all the work that's gone on, whether it's the film or whether it's on the field. And, we don't run a play or a concept if it hasn't worked in practice. We don't run it if we hadn't seen it before. We're not throwing crap out on the wall hoping it sticks. There's a rhyme and a reason. At least for our staff, there's a reason for why we call or what we did, and especially with personnel or people in certain positions. There's a reason why we've put them in that position. It's not to get a gift card or a bonus from somebody's family because they want little Jimmy to play. I'm sorry, I love little Jimmy more than anybody else, but on Friday nights I want to win the game.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You answered this question a little bit about your wife, but if you can dive a little bit deeper, just kind of into the process, because I don't know if people really, maybe they do understand what it takes to put content online and all that. It's not just recording something and then you post it because people are going to think like, man, it's not going to work, So, So you build a brand, YouTube, Twitter, coaching clinics. What made you say that you're going to teach the game online too?
My wife told me I was. No, just kidding.
Right.
So she works from home and does a bunch of online stuff. She was just like, you really should do this. She was like, how many young coaches, because she considered me young. I mean, I don't think I'm that young anymore, but she was like, how many people have the courage to get out there and actually do it? why don't you help people? Everybody's trying to make money off of stuff. She's like, we don't need to make money off of it. She was like, you go and speak about your passion, about what you love, because that's what you do during your planning period. As much as, your weight training, you already have that, you've had that, planned out for like 8 years. You know exactly what you're doing every day, blah, blah, blah. Why don't you get out there and make content? And why don't you have fun and enjoy and follow your passion, your pride? Because, why not enjoy what you love and do it as much as you possibly can? I was like, all right, well, let's do that. And so she does all the graphics for me. I record it. She'll tell me what I need to fix. If I need to go redo it, she'll say, no, this doesn't look good. She'll set up the camera sometimes for me to make sure the lighting is good. I mean, she does all those things. And, she helps me with typing up a description, doing the, in our program, she'll do all the graphics for us. She'll take pictures on game day. I mean, she's very hands-on because, like I said, we're a football family. I mean, my son is starting to run around now, and so he's there throwing the ball. Like it's what we do, And so it was one of those things of, a little bit about my story was had a really good year at Northwood, and our family thought we wanted to possibly move to the beach. So we had some offers, and we had a job that, we were going to, sign off for a house the next morning, and found out I didn't get the job because, politics. I found out it had nothing to do with me. It was just they, whatever, didn't get it right. Well, get told that I'm out of my job at the current school, right? So they don't want me back the next year. Well, I'm having to look for jobs. I'm asking God, like, what do I do? And I'll tell you what, there were a couple of times that I was thinking about just accepting an assistant job. And she said to me, no, like, you're a head coach. Like you're this right now, you feel like you're wearing it all in our family and we're about to have a baby. You're a head coach. You're not going to go be an assistant. And I was like, well, what about what about Green Hope? She goes, I don't care how bad they are. You've done it before. Believe in yourself. And I was like, but we're having a baby, all this. She goes, God has a plan. She was like, I believe in you. You need to believe in yourself. Let's do this. And, and I mean, there's times, that I don't know where I would be without her, and that confidence, because it was a pretty tough time last year when all that went down, because here I am thinking I put our family in a huge hole, because maybe I got greedy and maybe I should have been a little bit more humble, and then to go 0-10, but she never stopped believing. I mean, so much so that I bought the Gun T stuff, and there I am reading my son the books and like showing him the pictures and all that stuff, and she loved it. She took a picture of it, and just everything that we do is about football, and just like we're excited about our new house because we're going to have the guys over and have captain meetings and do stuff like that, because our family, man, football does so much more than people understand. It's not just a game. You hear about all the coaching carousel and all that, like with high school and college football, like these guys pour their life into it. Like, and that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. They pour their life into it. Their family is it. I mean, you look at Lane Kiffin, his son, his wife, like they're all there. You watch the SEC show, like, the Beamers are eating breakfast, breakfast
Right.
based off, like there is a person, there's people in these families of coaching. And I got blessed to have an amazing coach's wife. She just truly believes and helps me push me through each day to be my best version of myself, especially when it comes to football. And we're raising our son to be, a football lover fanatic as well. So, I owe a lot to her. But she pushed me along when it was some tough times. But yeah, she's the one that helped. That's pretty much all the credit of the YouTube channel and any of these connections and resources. You and I talking right now, is a lot of it is because of her. So.
Yeah, I mean that's God bless you, right? That's one of those things.
Yeah.
Where do you think you would be without that type of support? What do you think what do you think would happen? Just one of those things that, I'll go ahead and ask you. What is she the secret behind your success?
Whew. I'll try not to get emotional, but yeah, she helped change my life. I didn't know if I was husband material or if I was gonna ever be a dad before her. And when I met her, it was like I wanted all that. And like I said, she pushes me to be my best. She'll let me know if I disappointed her, or like, hey, like you could calm that down, or like, hey, let's talk about this. And you know, with my faith, having somebody that keeps you in check in a good way. Some people think that's funny or whatever, or being whipped or whatever. No, like you need to have an accountability partner, and that's mine. She drives me every day to be my best version of myself. And I want to be the best version for these kids and my son, but really for her. I mean, I want I want to make sure that she's proud of who I'm being and who I'm becoming. And yeah, I would say that she's the secret sauce, man. She's the secret juice, like in Space Jam. When
Right.
Michael Jordan's, she's Coach Mitch Johnson's, secret water or whatever you want, formula.
Right. Right. That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. I'm happy for you guys, and I wish you guys
Say
obviously
that,
the
Coach.
most success. God's got you guys, and I'm excited for you guys and what you guys have coming up. What's a belief or quote, that keeps you centered? As you think back to whether it's a verse, whether it's a quote, what do you go to and say, man, that's something I like to go to give me more energy or to focus me back?
Yeah, so there's a couple of them. One is be still. Be still is always one that always gets me. Because man, and then like I guess kind of paraphrasing, but like God gave His only Son to us, and look at how He got treated. So what makes you think you're going to get treated better than
Right.
Jesus Christ, right?
Right.
And then the third one is one that so my dad was in Delta, and this was kind of their phrase, but Psalms 23:4 about walking through the shadow of the valley of death. And knowing that God's with you. That's mine right there. I mean, anytime I'm feeling uncentered and need to feel calmness, I just read Psalms. I'll be honest, I read a lot of Psalms is anytime I need that calmness, because it's nothing but a happy, it's a happy book, a bunch of songs and hymns, and that one hits me hard. That's been my Bible verse that, you're not supposed to have a favorite, but that's kind of my go-to. That's the one that whenever I'm feeling nervous or whatever, obviously knowing be still, but knowing that no matter what adversity you're about to go through, God has got you, and the adversity you're going through is to help you build endurance for the race that He wants you to run. And always got to believe that His plan comes before yours, and His plan is not going to be smooth. There's going to be people attacking you. I learned that there's going to be people attacking
Right.
you. There's going to be peaks, valleys. Yeah, you don't know how you're going to get out, but just understand follow Him, and there's a path, and that path is going to lead you to happiness.
Yeah, definitely. That's good, great stuff. What's the biggest misconception people have about winning a football, about building a winning football program?
It's not about the X's and O's. It really is about the culture, and the people inside the brotherhood. Having the Jimmies and Joes are going to win the game, and that's the other one. Jimmies and Joes are going to win the game, but when it comes to that culture is going to beat out any type of X's and O's. I really truly learned that. It doesn't matter how good of a coach you are if you don't have the Jimmies and Joes in place, but also you have that culture to those guys believing that they'll run through a brick wall for you.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about the future a little bit. What's next for
sir.
Green Hope? What's the next mountain you guys are going to climb?
We're going to go for conference this year. That's our goal. Our phrase this next year is going to be reps. It's going to stand for relentless energy, pride, and strain. And when we walk through the hallway, the guys are going to know it like the back of their hand, because I think that's what's going to help us get to where we want to be. We were, 7 points away from being 8-2 in the regular season and possibly having a bye. So we know that it can be done. We just we need to focus on ourselves. And so one of the things Wake Forest talks about is they talk about, in the dark. So ours is going to be reps in the dark. We're going to go off the grid. We're going to get off of social media. We're going to get off all that, stop worrying about getting respect from other people, and we're going to focus on us. We're going to look inside of ourselves and go, far, far, far away, and really just do what we need to do every day, living by that motto every day, and reps in the dark. And, and then when it's time to shine, it'll be time to shine. And when it's time for the man in the arena, that first game, we'll be ready. And if we aren't, it's because of me. It's not because of anything that they did. Is I must not have fully did what I was supposed to do for those guys. But that's going to be our motto, and we're going to take high expectations. Our big one that I was going to talk about at the banquet. It's the first time I've kind of spoken it out to anybody. But last year was a bar setter, right? This next year is going to be a record breaker. This is going to be the year from now on. Everybody's going to look at Green Hope football and be like, man, that 26 season, that's the season. That's what we're going for. That, and everything that we do on a daily basis is going to be to reach that goal of 26 is going to be that season of Green Hope football. Whenever you talk about greatness and you talk about the elite season, that's what we're aiming for.
Yeah, definitely. I know we talked a little bit before this, and I want to give you a chance to 5 or 6, 7, 8 minutes or whatever to just show some stuff that you have, whether it's play, whatever you wanted to showcase that you have, or play design, cut ups, whatever. I'll just pass the mic over to you. Go ahead and share your screen and show us some what you got.
Yes, sir. Let me screen. Let's see. I'm just going to do the entire screen, right? Yep. Am I good, Coach?
It's coming up now. There, I see it. There, it's up.
All right, cool. All right, so we're going to.
It's at the little Riverside thing on the bottom right. Yep. I can see that. Yep. Yeah.
All right, cool.
If you can minimize that, I don't know. Are you able to minimize that or?
I don't think so. I can do this. Is that better?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, now I can see it. Now we're good.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to go into our. Get into our vid swap and go to our highlights. I'm going to show some of our explosives that we had this year.
Okay.
And just let me know whatever you want to see. Let's see.
Whatever you got. It's, yeah, I can see it. It's on you. Whatever you want to show us. We're definitely willing to watch.
All right. So here we are. This is taking it back from our last game. So here we are. Remember I told you about empty. So here it is. So right here, we're running empty H stick with hitches backside.
Right.
Obviously, this is open, but they got pressure home. But this is what happens when you work your bread and butter and you go empty. Now they have nobody for the quarterback, and he just takes off, and gets us going.
Wow, good run.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and yeah, trust me, I've already shown him. Yeah, the arrow or the out on stick was open, but hey, you try not to coach him with too much. He's going to be a senior. And then here it is. And then look at this, Coach. He came to the sideline. I said, great run. Now freaking throw the arrow. There's the speed out. The stick was open as well. Get in playmaker's hands. And he's still going. So here we go, still an empty. And right here we're running spacing. And he goes against it, even though I would love to have him throw that arrow to him. But now watch a playmaker make plays. So there you go. You go in empty and you force the hand. Here we are again, back in empty. Okay, and now there's stick, and you see they couldn't cover it all night. And then we also were going post curl on the backside, so I can tag front side, backside. And then that's our H back that led the 8A in receiving, and he broke school records. He had 63 catches, 1,000 yards, and 12 receiving touchdowns.
Wow, great year.
And he's coming back. So now here we are in trips, and now we're running post curl, and that's him making plays.
Wow.
I mean, that's something, Coach, like we talked about. That's having a Jimmy and a Joe, right?
Yeah.
That's a simple concept, and he just made it look pretty. Okay, now we're gonna. So here's talk about our lingo. Here's spread tight, H ride, and we're gonna run Y sail. They were so worried about because that's our guy that averaged like over 20 yards per catch. So they're worried about him. Okay, and now watch this. They even though you would think that they would have it. The best player or the best productivity taken. Look at that. They leave him wide open.
Wide open, yeah.
And you should have thrown it a lot earlier, but that's fine. Okay, so there you are. You're behind the chains and nice play. Okay, here we are in bunch. Sorry for the lag. Okay, now we're running our sail again, and look at that, wide open.
Wide open. You're playing 7-on-7 out there, Coach.
Yes, sir. That's what you got to do.
Free.
Yeah. No, it was a fun game. We should have played a lot better. And now talking about going on balance. So here we are on a first down. They don't line up correctly. Boom, we hit them. And now you're just running screen.
Can you talk about your splits on that one?
Our splits? Yeah.
Your wide receiver split. I like that.
Yeah. So let me get so I can have a nice. What we this is called quattro. Okay. And quattro with no tag means that he knows that he's not lined up anywhere else. So those two are on and he's off. And we're going to try and make this as deceiving as possible. Those two have already shown that they are there. And now he's going to be as close as possible. We're trying to keep it to where it's, they're almost all in a line. And now everybody's blocking one person inside. And if we were calling just a regular bubble screen, our running back would actually have gone up to go block.
Right.
But we ran off a GT because we knew that they flowed so hard. They started blitzing, Coach, so we went on balance and we played the numbers game.
And they gave you the spacing you want. They were just trying to drive down, man. That was a great play call.
This, I think, right here is either going to be our pop pass or, it's going to be GT with a play side hitches. So right here, when we call pop, so this is H pop, he'll run he'll just run a hitch in case the pop's not there. And so what he's doing is reading this guy. He flows down on the GT and he just replaces.
Pitch and catch.
Yeah, coach. I mean, our number 4 is a dude, but our quarterback, he has to make throws and good reads as well.
Right.
So GT, and we just ran sluggo, because if you saw the play before, he drives down, boom, and safety fell asleep, and then we just hit a touchdown.
Yeah,
over the top.
I like being able to see the play sequence of this. I like how you're showing it, because you can see that you really. I mean, you enabled that play to have success with your play calling up to that point, because they were thinking maybe it's a little bit
here
underneath.
It is. Backside slant, safety flows over here. He went down on it. So we looked at it because I have the iPad next to me. And I asked him, I was like, and I said thumbs up, and I meant double move, boom, and got him.
Yeah, great throw too.
Yeah, he made some great throws this year. Okay, so now here we are in bunch, and now GT, and we got a pass interference one-on-one. Oh, yeah, he actually caught that, but then also pass interference. And now here's the next play to that. Stay in bunch. Oh, sorry. That's the face mask. But you made him play fast because we were lining up quick.
Right.
Trying to think. Oh, yeah. Now here is our motioning into shallow cross. And shallow's wide open.
What? Yep.
Should have thrown it a little bit earlier. But then there's another kid that they're not scared of.
Lowering the shoulder. That's the weight room there.
Yeah, that's the mentality. And now here's a beautiful one. So this was the next play, coach. So this is the next play to it. So all of a sudden you're thinking, what? Shallow, right? So you're going to start focusing on those guys. Boom. And guess what they forget to do? Cover the running back.
Yep. Touchdown.
Yes, sir. Let's see. Let's go to a different game. So this is our playoff game. A lot of dudes right here. So one of the things that we worked on is running a cross. So I'm not big on wide cross, but we'll run cross here. Yeah, because they bring a lot of blitz and a lot of pressure. Yeah, so we just run cross to replace them, and there's that. If they blitz, I like to replace those linebackers. All right, so here we are. Here's our stacks. So this is GT. Yes, sir. So that's a GT play. This is our rollout into sail. Like I told you, we like to run the arrow out of this. So now we give a little bit of play action look. We freeze them a little bit. They're going to worry about him running the arrow, and watch the sail window open up. And the fade was actually wide open as well. So here's shallow. And obviously we have to get better at this. But this is why I love having a quarterback that can run. Is it still showing? Yeah.
It's still showing.
Because even though he missed that target, or he misses him, like he's got guys open, but his eyes went to here. Once he felt like he didn't like the shallow, he sees that they all drop back, so he sees all that grass.
And he saw the grass on the run.
Yep.
Coach, can I ask you? And you don't have to do this if you don't want to. I don't want to give any competitive advantages. If you're able to show a couple play designs that you have, whether it's Quattro, I'm interested in the Quattro, or even any of your other your motions. Just a couple real quick. So we can just see it on how it's drawn out.
Yeah, let me try to figure out, because of being full screen. So I'm just going to go to drawing. So what would give me an example, coach, that you would like to see?
Quattro. I saw that and I was like, man, that's something that I might even use for myself. On that. This may be more for me than anyone else. Okay. I like the play. I like the splits on it. The splits are a lot for the receivers, and it's just seeing that. I think it was a great play design.
So Quattro for us would be, we would go Z and X are on the ball. Y is as tight as possible, and then our H is right there. And you can tag any type of a run or pass that you want. So the one that you saw was GT, and we're blocking most dangerous man, and he just has a bubble. So there's that one. And then another thing that we like to do is go where we'll line up, and we'll go. We call we'll call Quattro. So there, and now we can tag our H to wherever we want them to be. And so one of the things that we had a lot of success was having him at Ram. So he's at that sniffer, and we're running GT this way, and then what we'd have is stick. So he's faking bubble, and he's going, and then what we'll do is he'll come out and run that arrow slider
Nice.
type.
Right.
And so the quarterback gets out of there, and now most of the time that's going to be just a corner, and he's got to make a decision as to what he's going to do. So that's one of the things is just, you show a bunch of eye candy here. Pre-snap, if they don't line up right, you can throw that stick. If they only have 6 guys in the box, let's try to run the ball because we're reading this defensive end. But if that defensive end is screaming down, then obviously we'll run GT off of that or run the arrow off of that. Anything else you like to see, Coach?
Let's go. What's one of the ones that let's go with your bread and butter, or one play you really love, like your favorite play.
Got you. My favorite play. All right. So what we'll do. So it used to be mesh, but one of the things that I absolutely love to do now is running shallow. And so what we'll do is we'll go with our O-line, and we're going to put our Y on the ball. Usually he's off. And so we're going to go Z shallow cross, but he's going to come in motion and then get that shallow. Okay. What we have here is H has the outside release dig. X is on the ball. He is got the deep post, and running back has the wheel. So that should all kind of open that up. If that's not there, then that's there. But usually this will take that guy out of the box, so you have that. And then what our Y will do is he'll just have an out off of that, just in case. But what we'll do is it goes one, or sorry, it'll go. What we usually do is the rail goes one. Anytime we have rail, and then we'll go 1, 2 to 3. But if we've seen that later on that safety's worried about this, then this will become 3, and that will be exited out. So then that's how we'll do that.
Yeah, that's a great play. It really is. You're throwing a lot of bodies, a lot of commotion on one side, a lot of issues on that left side. If they don't pick up something right, you could have a big play, especially talking about that rail route. I mean, that's there. It should be. But man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it all depends on how they line up. For us with that short motion, we've had a lot of explosives off that. I mean, you saw 2 of them just on that, and this was actually the way that we do any type of motion. When we did short motion from our outside receiver, we had 5 plays over 40 yards off of that. Yes, sir.
Wow. Well, Coach, man, I really appreciate your time. I'll give the last words to you. I just want to say, first off, thank you for taking the time and showing us, really being open with us. And, you have a lot going on. Like I said, wish you and the family the best success that you can have, that God's got to be with you for sure on that. So I thank you for your time and your attention for this last hour and 10 minutes. So I'll leave the last word to you.
Hey, Coach, whatever, anything you ever need, always let me know. People can find me on the YouTube at Coach Mitch Johnson. And then Twitter, I'm always willing to answer any DMs. And sometimes, with this new chat and all that, sometimes they don't get it.
Right.
But I'll do my best to always reply to people because I like talking ball. I like to help out because I don't know it all. I've stolen it from places. I've learned from it. I've done lots of clinics, sat down and wrote down notes and try to figure out what works best for our guys. For those coaches that they're struggling right now, whether with their purpose, just follow your why. Continue to follow your why. You're not in this fraternity. You're not in this calling to get judged by anybody else other than your maker. So if you're doing what God has put on your heart and you're fully listening to and letting him take your life and take the wheel, then you're doing it the right way. Don't worry about what any of your peers, as much as our fuel and our competitiveness wants to prove people wrong, don't worry about being judged because there's only one person at the end of the day that judges you for eternity. So always remember that.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. I couldn't have said it better myself, so I really appreciate your time.
Appreciate you, Coach.